Stories in today's video. 1. I caught my boyfriend sleeping with 2 women. 2. Wife cheated on me while I was putting out a fire. I apologize for the length of this story. TLDR. After breaking up with cheating ex, who claims to have no longer be in love with me or find me surely attractive, why would he get back together with me and not just end the relationship? As briefly described in the title, I am very confused. I don't want people asking me if I've gained weight because that's not it. I've been the same, no changes. I feel arrogant saying this, but I'm thrown off by him saying he no longer found me surely desirable. The relationship was great the first 3 months. Despite that, he talked about his ex, who has the same exact name as me, a lot. At first, I didn't think anything of it because I'm not the jealous type. He also told me that their 2-year relationship ended terribly and he no longer speaks with her. Then I noticed he brought her up a lot and a lot of other ex-GFS, so I told him it makes me uncomfortable that he talks about his ex-GFS a lot. He acknowledged this and the talk of exes reduced. Not too long after 3 months, he became very distant and communicated less. When I communicated him about not feeling prioritized, he blamed it on his busy postdoc schedule, and the way he showed he cared for me was by squeezing me into his schedule. I accepted this, because I wanted him to succeed at work and figured I would want the same if I were in his situation and thought I was being understanding of his needs. The communication and prioritization continued to get worse. We started having less x, but I honestly thought it was because he's exhausted and tired from work. Why did I stay with him? Because when we were together, it felt great. He seemed to be a good communicator, he seemed to have a higher EQ than most guys I've dated, and we were able to do some fun activities together. So 2 months later, I ended up breaking up with him over text. It took him a while to message me back, but he wrote a nice message that he understands and is okay with it. I told him I wanted to pick up a book I left and he asked if I could do it next weekend. I thought it was weird because he could just leave it with the front desk people, but didn't question it. Then I felt bad for ending the relationship the way I did, over text, and asked if we could meet for closure. He said yes and wanted that himself. Instead of meeting where we originally planned, I had to go closer to his place because he lost his stuff and couldn't easily travel to me. I later found out that he went on an island holiday with friends and his stuff got stolen. I thought that was really weird because he never mentioned that to me, but he's a spontaneous guy, so I thought maybe it was a last-minute thing that he decided to do after I broke up with him. We spent 3 hours together talking about how the relationship didn't work. In the end, I thought, oh, now that I know where he's coming from. He continued to say he's very busy and got scared because he was getting lots of grant rejections. This could possibly work. I communicated with him that I'm willing to try the relationship again. We were only broken up for about a week, as long as we're both able to set up expectations of each other's needs, etc. He was on board. Fast forward another 1 to 2 months later, his behavior really didn't improve a whole lot. I was checking out and getting frustrated again when I suddenly had an emergency operation. I told him and he started showing me lots of concerns. That's nice, I thought. When I got myself to the hospital, he showed up and was present with me the whole time. I didn't even ask him to come, so I really thought, yes. Finally, some positive change. After my recovery, we planned on watching the game together. He invited his poker friends and wanted to invite one of my friends. I showed up to his place before going to the game and ended up finding used condoms in his trash can. I confronted him about it because we don't use protection, and he immediately lied, saying, I don't use the trash can. I wasn't having it and yelled at him. After catching lying several more times and seeing him sit in silence in a thinking pose for 10 minutes, he told me that he was planning on telling me all of this today in the between the matches. He also told me that he wanted to tell me earlier, but then I had my surgery. It turned out he slept with some girl the weekend before my emergency operation. This is also when he told me that he no longer found me surely attractive and fell out of love with me. He also made it sound like he wasn't sure why he wasn't feeling it with me and was worried something was wrong with him until he slept with this random girl. Since everything that came out of his mouth sounded like a lie, I left. A week later, I found out that he went on the island holiday with his ex-GF and not with friends. I got in touch with her and luckily she believed me and was open to talking. I was horrified to find out how he treated her during their 2 years relationship. She was 21 to 23 at the time and he was 35 to 37, and started wondering if he was a sociopath. He would yell at her, make her pay for everything, put her down, and so much more. I was horrified because it never got to this point with me, but who knows had I stayed longer. I found out that he got back in touch with her before I met him and he was hooking up with her around the 2 to 3 months point of my relationship with him. I also found out that he was sleeping around with 5 other women, so the whole P***NIS not working is it me is it you story is also BS. I hadn't spoken to him in over a month until he sent me a long email with a faux apology. He explained that he really enjoyed our time together and really thought I was a great catch, but just was no longer in love with me anymore and didn't find me surely attractive, throwing salt on a wound. He also said that he should have broken up with me earlier, but he was a coward to do it. He wrote other stuff too that pretty much distanced himself from taking full responsibility for his terrible behavior. So I'm not really buying all of it. My way of coping is trying to figure out people's motivations, psychology as best as I can in hopes that I can let go more and apply lessons learned for future relationships. I really don't understand why this guy wanted to keep me around if he didn't want X with me and was no longer in love with me. Why did he come back when he already had an out? This will be long as it happened a few years ago, and I just finally felt like sharing it after reading many stories and experiences here. It's my hope my story will help someone else survive cheating. I was married nearly 20 years to my ex-wife. I was a professional firefighter before we met. I began my career when I graduated high school at 17 and enrolled in fire academy with a parent waiver. I'm a 4th-generation fireman, and throughout our marriage, working my way as high as battalion chief before requesting demotion back to rescue captain of my department's rescue squad, since that was where all my certifications etc. were in. Once Christmas Eve we received a call for a structure fire at an apartment building. When we got on scene there was 18 residents unaccounted for. We began rescue ops and in one unit I found a young husband and wife, got them out, and as a tender changed my air bottle the young woman sitting with medics began screaming, my baby, my baby. I ran up to her and asked her, ma'am, what kind of baby am I looking for, dog, cat, human or what? All she said was my baby over and over, so I ran back in. A short time later I emerged with an infant. As I made my way out something inside the building blew, sending debris everywhere. I was hit in the back by a piece of wood like a giant splinter. I somehow still made it to the triage area, handed off the baby and collapsed. That was when the splinter was found, sticking out of me. I was helicoptered to a trauma center. While on the way IP***SSED away twice and revived, I was taken in for emergency surgery. The splinter had nicked my heart and I was dying. My wife was called by my crew and told of what happened, and she told my crew that she was not coming. She had better things to do than to worry about my ploy for her attention and how I was using my job to try and get into her panties. I was in the hospital for 30 days as they would not release me until they were sure I was healed enough to return home in a very rural area about 60 miles from where I worked in a real hospital. When I was released I tried to get my wife to pick me up. She told me she didn't have time to make that drive. I had to beg for a ride home, and when I finally found one through one of my crewmates, he accompanied me into my house, making sure I was okay and not alone. We walked through my home looking for my wife since her minivan was in the driveway. When I opened our bedroom door I collapsed to my knees as my crewman came up behind me and shouted, "WTF are you doing?" We opened my bedroom door to find my wife in bed. She had a man under her in her kitty, another behind her in her butt, and a third in her mouth. At first the thing that hit me most was the one in her butt and mouth, things she never did with me and that I had never tried at all, claiming I was too big and would gag her or hurt her. My friend helped me up. He took me out, then went in and gathered me some clothes to take. He took me to another friend's home where we explained what had transpired. Later on, the friend with me when I caught her told me when he went in to get things for me, the ex and her boy toys never stopped what they were doing and he took cell phone video without them noticing. A few days later my friends helped me find a lawyer and started the divorce process. Luckily our kids were already adults now, so we didn't have that battle in divorce to put our kids through, because in court I learned that everyone in our friends group was getting some of my wife except me. She openly admitted to doing every man in town to the judge and how I was nothing but a paycheck and how she always hoped I'd die in the line of duty and she'd get that $1 million life insurance we had if I was killed on the job. When we met and throughout life she was always sweet and naive. She was a little slow in many things, but when her mom lost everything and moved in with us for a while, that's when my wife began to change. Her mom didn't live in the same house the entire time, as we bought a small building and turned it into a little cottage on the back end of our property so we could have her privacy. Once I moved her mom out back is when I noticed the changes in her. It was hard for me to notice red flags etc., as I was the only one working and I would work 48 on and 24 off. The normal is 24 on 48 off, but because she refused to work I had to work double and even at times a second job to support 5 of us by myself. Wife, 2 kids, Mill and myself. Since catching her the home has been sold and everything split. That was mutual property, divided, sold and split etc. My crew rallied around me, being there to help me when needed as well as to help me try to fight my way back to duty status, as well as be there when I need someone to talk to and so on. Most of these men and women on my crew lived in the city we worked in, so it was an hour drive at least each way to *SSIST me. I worked my *SS off to get my career back. I wanted to hit the 35 years of service mark, then retire. When it came time to do my physical etc. to return to duty, IP *SSED, but was subsequently called into the chief's office where I was told, "Captain, you have 2 choices. 1, you can retire now at 30 years and keep your full pension and benefits, or 2, we will medically retire you and you get half." I stuttered, but IP *SSED my return to duty tests. The answer I received was, "Captain, you are one of not the best fire rescue specialist I have ever known, but your age, your injury history and your recent diagnosis of PTSD coupled with bipolar, the insurance company will no longer cover you due to high risk. So do you have a decision?" I retired and left heartbroken and defeated. When my now ex-wife found out, she began tormenting me over it all, trying to drive me to suicide as my guess, but instead of letting her win I left the area, began working in animal rescue to help *SS time. It was the lowest point of my life. Living in an RV trailer running an animal rescue and no one would give me a job. Sure, I didn't need to work, but I needed something to do. I swore off women, except for my sister firefighter. I didn't socialize or date etc. for a long time. I thought I would never be in a relationship again. I didn't know if I could ever trust anyone ever again. Then it happened. I began playing what I guess you would call once of those MMORP games where I met a woman, we would chat, eventually exchange numbers etc. Then 18 months later she decided she wanted to meet me, telling me, "No way, you're a perv or anything, because no one is going to invest this long to pick a target." This made me laugh harder than I ever had in my life. I'll be honest, I was reluctant at first because we had a 20-year age gap, plus we were different races. Where I live interracial relationships are still shunned. Yes, it's Redneckville, USA, and basically still the Stone Age in many ways here, but I agreed to meet her. I can say it was the best decision of my life. She was everything I could dream of and more. She was old-fashioned like me. She was raised and believed a woman's number 1 job was her spouse and family, not money and a career. I have no problem with a working woman, but regardless, man or woman, family should always come before career or anything else. I guess it's kind of ironic in some way. I lost my dad to the Vietnam War and here I am now married to a Vietnamese woman, expecting our first child November of 2021. Cheating is horrible and maybe the worst thing we can go through. But please remember, it is not the end of the world. Nor are all men or women the same as your cheating spouse. The keys are: make time for you, get help and find yourself again. Take you time and remember something better is out there looking for you too. Suicide is never an answer. Giving up should not be an option. You are strong, you can do it. A life can be rebuilt and become a newer, better one. Remember, life and love will always find a way.